It's a perfect circle, just how you like it, Serby.
No, it's a bad circle.
No. Hello, everybody, and welcome to what is very likely the final part in our discovery of the making of BlazBlue. It seems that we're going to be heading into Central Fiction here, and... Ooh, cross-tag battle. Okay, currently at this point in time, I have played BB Tag. I can say that now. One of our friends, Kane, invited me to play a few games with him, and I wasn't going to stream BB Tag, so I decided, you know, I might as well get a bit taste of what BlazBlue is. But man, I have so many things to say about that game, and I kind of understand why it didn't see as much success, despite a lot of really good ideas. It just needed better execution. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll talk about it when we get there. But yeah. If you guys haven't already by this point, what are you doing? Go and support Thorgi. Go and subscribe and like the original video. A link to that is at the very top of the description, as always. I gotta react to the music too. Oh, actually, I don't know when that video was released, but I recently watched Maximilian react to a bunch of like character select themes, and man, that was such a fun video. There were a lot of really good and really wonky like fighting game character select themes. I mean, I had a lot of fun reacting to the not the BlazBlue stuff, the Guilty Gear music. We haven't yet to react to the BlazBlue music, but yeah, we should do that.
BlazBlue Central Fiction launched in arcades in November 2015, and no, I don't know why every single arcade release of BlazBlue came out in November. That's just a really weird coincidence. Or the entire secret to the lore is hidden in there somewhere. Either way, I'm not figuring it out.
Yeah, bro, imagine they get that meta with it. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. BlazBlue is just crazy enough to do something like that.
I feel like for some reason games always have their launch period. Because like Pokemon is similar. It's pretty much always October, November.
I have to assume that it's
getting
likely
ready for the holiday period.
Yeah, that plus that's just their planned development schedule. Whatever they have finished, they're going to release. So you're just going to crunch it within that sort of time.
And yes, folks, you heard correct. This game was the finale to the BlazBlue saga. Or at least the intended original saga. I don't know if you've noticed yet, but in addition to all these games coming out in November, they all share something else in common. Every single one of them has a subtitle that begins with the letter C. And that was intentional, as these 4 games were referred to as the C series and were meant to be one continuous storyline, with the original plan to continue BlazBlue on with a brand new cast of characters and a new plotline later on.
Oh.
But,
I see. So that's why I've seen some comments talking about potential continuations despite the story pretty much coming to an end in this game. But you never know what Arxis is gonna do.
True.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. For now, let's see how this series went out. In terms of gameplay, guess what? There were several small changes and rebalances once again. Shocking, right? However, comparing the leap from the first game to the second game and the second game to the third game...
Like Bang just has a nail gauge at the bottom there.
Yeah, once I actually start streaming this game, I got to learn what all these little meters mean. I tried out 9 a little bit in BB Tag. She seems to have this element gauge, but you can only get it by attacking the enemy with a few attacks, and then depending on the input that you use and how much gauge you have, it brings out a different move. I can see a lot of intricacy with a lot of these characters. I don't know what the nail thing is, though.
Changes between Chrono Phantasma and Central Fiction aren't nearly as big. Chrono Phantasma feels like a completely different game from Continuum Shift. Central Fiction feels like a really polished version of Chrono Phantasma. The only two big changes is that now, when you go into your overdrive mode, you can once again press all 4 buttons to activate Exceed Excel, which is just a really fancy way of saying a free super. Yes, your regenerating Super Saiyan meter also gives you a free super on the house now. It's nuts, and I love it. And what makes this even better is the other brand new mechanic, Active Flow. This is a state that your character can enter when you've continuously been playing aggressive for a period of time, such as continuously attacking the opponent or constantly going in on them. And once activated, your damage increases, but more importantly, your overdrive meter recovers quicker. So you pop over
Okay. This seems to be the same direction that Guilty Gear went in, where all the systems are promoting you to go forward. Like, you gain meters simply by walking towards the enemy. You gain meter more by attacking the enemy than defending, just to make the games a little more exciting and promote.
So you don't just have one person stalling.
Yeah. Considering that's an actual tactic that we have seen used in a lot of fighting games, even at Evo, just playing lame, just making sure your opponent's HP stays lower than yours and just defending the entire time. That is a strat, but yeah, it's not the most exciting to watch, so I can understand why.
Overdrive, do some major damage, come out of overdrive, but then you keep attacking and you'll charge that drive back up in no time. Listen, I'll admit, I'm a super unga bunga fighter. I love going in and being aggressive in fighting games, which is just my really nice way of saying I'm kind of stupid and I just like hitting buttons. So if you give me a mechanic that rewards being aggressive, I'm on board. As for the new content, this game introduced Speed Star mode, where you have to beat a set number of characters in a limited amount.
The reason I struggle with fighting games is I tend to be a very defensive player in games, which is not really apt for fighting games generally.
I think it probably depends on the character that you select, because there are certain defensive characters. Thinking on the limited roster that I know of, I think her name is like Tamaki or something from the Dead or Alive series. I think she's in DOA 6, but essentially she's an Aikido fighter. So she plays completely defensive. Just wait for your opponent to attack you and then reverse. I believe there's also an Aikido fighter and Virtua fighter as well. I'm not sure who that would be in BlazBlue. I don't have a good grasp on the entire cast yet, so maybe there is that. And if not, then maybe there's a different game for you out there for playing defensive.
Who knows, maybe my game is Dead or Alive.
Oh yeah, baby! I'd gladly stream that with you. Bro, anything is possible, Serby. Marvel Rivals happened, anything is possible.
Time, but you could get bonus time by pulling off certain achievements. Again, really impressive how BlazBlue continued to come up with interesting single-player modes that are really addictive, all while using the resources already in the game itself. And speaking of that, Abyss mode returns, and God, it is weird this time. I put about 8 hours into Abyss mode in Central Fiction, and I didn't understand what I was doing until about halfway through that. Okay,
nice.
Let me see if I can explain this without chewing through my own tongue. There are now 8 different towers, each with 100 floors divided into easy, medium, and hard. But now you have to equip a grimoire before going into combat. The grimoire will decide how much of a boost you can get to your stats, and you can equip skills to those grimoires. Am I saying grimoires too much? Too bad, because I'm not stopping. You unlock new skills after each normal fight, and a new grimoire after every 20th floor boss fight. As you fight, you will rank up your character, which lets you increase your stats. But you also rank up your grimoire. Once your grimoire is maxed out, you can then destroy it and get all the skills in there back, but now those skills will level up into stronger versions of themselves. Problem is, grimoires can only hold skills up to a certain rank, and if you level a skill up too much, it might rank up, and then you might not have a grimoire that can handle it. So, okay. It's admittedly a little bit more complicated than the previous games.
Oh, this feels like one of those leveling mechanics in something like Fire Emblem Fates. Where
I was thinking this feels very Fire Emblem.
yeah. Hey, great minds think alike. Where a lot of new players would just advance their class without fully leveling their character first, so they would just miss out on a lot of stat bonuses. If you're playing higher difficulties, you're kind of screwed if you do that. I still recall when we were trying to get Kiwi into Fire Emblem, and she was going to play Conquest on the hardest difficulty. Like the hardest possible campaign in all of Fire Emblem.
I still haven't beat Fire Emblem Conquest on Lunatic yet. It's hard.
Very much so. I tried it. I could not. I got stuck on the second goddamn level because the freaking green unit took all my XP. How dare you?
Yeah, it is rough. It gives you no grinding. But yeah, no, this whole system is just convoluted and just weird enough. It does, for some reason, feel very Fire Emblem.
Maybe this is just a trend with Japanese game developers. The way that they think.
It also kind of reminds me of some of the spin-off Kingdom Hearts.
It's just actually, maybe this is just like an Asian culture thing, because I do feel like a lot of the mechanics and just the way that we think about things is so complex. Like, other people don't really understand it, when sometimes, you could just use simple orders with a very simple solution to the problem, but we would rather do the unique and fancy thing with a lot of numbers. I can see where the stereotypes come from.
I need you to play Zero Time Dilemma so I can make my complex motives jokes and have you understand.
Oh no. Okay, there were some pretty complex puzzles already in 999 and VLR, but I can only imagine what craziness we get up to in the final entry. Jeez.
No, you have no idea.
And I'm really torn on it, because on the one hand, it relies way too much on luck now. You don't get to pick your skills or your grimoires, they just give you one at random. So you might have to grind like crazy to get a grimoire that can actually handle the skills that you have. And to make matters worse, they put way too many roadblocks in your way, because there's one more tower in here, the Boss Rush Tower. These are a series of fights against insanely strong opponents with flat out nutty abilities. I'm talking stuff.
What is going across my screen? It's a giant frog, king frog.
Cow.
Pumpkins. I think there were bats earlier. It just gets crazier and crazier.
Like, only takes damage from counters. Their defense is so high that you can't damage them, but they lose defense each time you knock them down. Or my personal favorite, unlimited astral heats.
Huh? What the shit is going on? Uninstall. So I think his is like a counter. So if he just spams it over and over and over again, how the heck are you supposed to get past that? What in the freaking Hakumen? He gets the special treatment because he's the OC.
Bring this up because you start out only being able to challenge the easy towers. You want to move up to medium and get some stronger grimoires? You have to beat 3 of these bosses. Same goes for moving from medium to hard. So you need strong grimoires to challenge these bosses. But you only have a small chance of getting the grimoires that you need in the tower that you're in. Meaning you have to just keep grinding through them until you get lucky. So yeah, the luck and grind factor is way too strong in this mode. But that being said, the boss rush mode with these busted abilities is a really fun idea. And once I finally did get a strong grimoire, I was able to level up my skills to insane levels. In the previous games, the regeneration ability was practically worthless. The rate at which it would heal your life back was practically nothing. But I got up to level 7 in this game, and now I was healing back faster than the computer could damage me. Building an unstoppable...
Bro, it's always such a fun time whenever you reach that point in the game where you've been struggling the entire game, but now you have finally become God. And all those who opposed you before can only grovel at your feet. On one hand, from like a completely casual player fighting games, well, I say that, but I also study frame data, so maybe I'm not casual anymore. But
yeah, I don't think you can call yourself casual.
Yeah, I'm just the type of person who gets really into anything that I'm interested in. So, but regardless, I'm just not very skilled at the game. I think these modes could be kind of overwhelming, but that's sort of the point, right? Like, this is supposed to effectively be the end game for people who have optimized their character to their fullest limit and want to push beyond that. So it makes sense that there's just complete cheat abilities on the AI side.
I don't know, as someone who likes grinding and collecting things, this one scratches my itch more.
The RNG can be very frustrating, but I think it's also important for keeping player retention too, because you always have the promise of potentially getting something better, but if you get that too early, then you kind of just lose interest in doing the whole grinding session in the first place. So, like, yeah, that would lead to the end of service.
In RNG. I got that stupid trophy in Replicant where you have to get the stupid flower.
Oh my god, I love Replicant to death, but even I haven't gone back to do that. I planted all the flowers prepared for that, but I lost Yeah, I couldn't do it. And I wasn't gonna cheat my way through it by moving my system clock, so yeah.
Oh no, I didn't either. I did that one legit.
Also, for some context for those of you who don't know, you essentially had to plant a bunch of flowers, exact colors of flowers, in a particular sequence, and the flowers grow in real time. Yeah. If they do, then you're kind of screwed and you have to reset. But eventually you'll get one special flower out of that.
You need them 2 colors to make a different color. And then you do that with 2 separate ones.
Yeah.
And then you take those 2 that you've made and you need those to make the new flower.
It's one hell of an achievement. Only crazy people would do that. Crazy people like Serby. So yeah.
Force and then trying to take on the computer's
immovable
object
player,
was good old broken fun.
That's true.
So yeah, even with these problems, I still got hooked on this mode and put way too much time into it. Again, fighting game developers, making single-player content for your games is way easier than you might think. Just get weird with the resources that you already have and do something creative with it, and I'll play it for hours no matter how busted it is. But hey, a lot of people aren't going to go for the big, crazy side modes. They want to stick to the basics, like arcade mode.
Yeah.
And thank God Central Fiction decided to get weird with that too. Thanks to some reality warping muckety-muck that I won't go into right now, almost every single character in this roster has not 1, not 2, but 3 arcade ladders, with unique fights, boss battles, and endings for each of them. The most important thing when it comes to your single-player content in a fighting game is figuring out a way to make your players want to keep using a character over and over. No one wants to just re-challenge the exact same arcade ladder or story mode over and over again with the exact same one character. So giving them not only a bunch of different modes that you can use those characters in that I already mentioned, but also 3 different arcade modes? Oh man, I can't lie. Even when I had all the footage that I needed for this video, I still found myself going, I like this character, I enjoy playing as them, and they still got 2 more arcade ladders. I mean, it can't hurt to go back in there again, right? Just to make sure I didn't miss something important. And what makes...
Yeah, I get that feeling very much, and I appreciate the fact that they understand why people play the characters that they play and how to get people invested in those characters by giving them substance, a story, a personality, a background.
Crazy.
Not just looking cool or having cool and flashy abilities. That's one part to get people interested in at first, but like, why would they stay and learn those characters? It's because they like them, because they're invested.
True.
I wish more fighting games took this approach, but I mean, I guess development cycles and resources and whatnot. A lot of things.
These triple arcade ladders even more impressive is the roster size. Including the DLC, there are a total of 36 characters. How big is 36 characters?
We're not playing Grim.
I mean, that sounds like a thing.
Holy how many characters?
Yeah, that is the power of reusing assets. You want to get a jaw-dropping roster size with 3 arcade ladders for everyone? Use what you already have. As for the new characters, there's Hibiki Kohaku. He's the serious and professional assistant who keeps the slovenly Kakura in line, but he's also a very skilled assassin, and his drive ability lets him send out shadow duplicates across the field. It's worth noting that for BlazBlue's 10th anniversary, Arxis held a character popularity poll, and despite only being playable in 1 game, Hibiki came in 3rd.
Damn!
People love this guy.
He was topping me, too.
Yeah. We only saw him appear like once or twice in the retrospective. It was just the assistant in the background.
Like in the background, yeah.
Hey, sometimes people know exactly what they want. There you go.
Probably because he's just an Attack on Titan character. Yeah, remember when Mori said they made these stories just by putting a bunch of stuff that he likes together? Yeah, it ain't even subtle on this one. Then there.
So I was talking with Kate about this. Apparently, all the characters are a particular reference to a certain anime that Mori is a fan of. It's either the character themselves or a particular color that you can select for the character. There's even like a character that is inspired by Monogatari, but I'm not sure which one right now. We'll have to go and see it in game. But I mean, yeah, it's very clear that Hibiki is Attack on Titan. Like, there's no other possible reference there.
There's Naoto Kurogane, who originally appeared in the manga spin-off BlazBlue Blood Edge Experience. He has a boatload of lore behind him, but to try and keep this as simple as possible, he's basically an alternate reality version of Ragna. I promise you that's the simplest way I can explain it. He got sucked into this world looking for his friend Raquel, and now he's living through the BlazBlue isekai as he tries to find a way back home. He's mostly known for having crazy quick Rekka attacks and dash cancels to extend his combos. I remember a few years ago for a charity stream, I picked Naoto up for the very first time, and I'll never forget that someone in the chat said, quote, "Say goodbye to your thumbs." Yeah, that's a pretty accurate warning for Naoto, alright. Then we move into the three big villains of the game, starting with Izanami, who is essentially the god of death. There is way more to her story though, but we'll save all that for part 2. And she definitely wears that grim, deathly nature on her big sleeves, with some of the creepiest supers and astral heats in the entire series.
Some of the coolest
ones, too. Then there's Nine the
too.
Phantom, one of these 6 legendary heroes who, after spending 100 years in the Boundary, kinda went nuts and is ready to burn everything down. If you're a fan of this channel, you've definitely heard me bring up Nine before, because she has got one of my favorite fighting game gimmicks of any character ever. Each of her 3 basic buttons are linked to an elemental attack. Then, when you hit your drive button, you do a unique attack based on whatever the last 3 elements were that you used. She literally makes a witch's brew in the match with her attacks as ingredients.
Oh, you can see the colors on the side there with the little banner.
Oh.
Next to our character.
So yeah, it works differently in Central Fiction. They just dubbed it down for BB Tag. Gotcha. Oh man. This is going to be one hell of a character to learn. There's so much to manage. Hey, at least it's not Asuka. Yeah.
It's not the cubes.
I still laugh every single time I think about that one Evo match where the announcers are like, cubes everywhere. I don't know what's going on, but there's cubes. Nobody knows what happens when Asuka's on the field.
That's genius. And lastly, there's Susanoo, the big final baddie of the entire series, and Yuki Terami's true form. And 9 might have my favorite gimmick, but Susanoo is a close second. You see all those locks down there at the bottom of the screen? Those are his special moves, and you can only use one of them when the match begins. However, whenever you attack the opponent, a highlight will appear over the different locks. Then when you hit the drive button, whatever attack is highlighted will be unlocked. That may sound really complicated and it might scare some people off from trying him, but all of his attacks flow and link together so smoothly that even if you never unlock any of his specials, you can still have a ton of fun with him and he can still do some massive damage. And while we're talking about Susanoo, I have to bring this up.
Yeah, I mean, before we get there, this feels very much like the big bad evil villain in an anime evolving in the middle of a fight. This is really cool.
Basically, the longer the fight goes on against Susanoo, the worse it's gonna get.
The more powerful he becomes. He gains new special moves out of nowhere, bro. Holy. I have never seen anything like this before.
One of the moves probably sucks, and as the player, you're like, no, don't unlock that one. No. I don't want that added to the pool.
Well, inevitably, yeah, there's probably going to be a few. That's just how it's going to be. Or maybe just like a particular move that is good, but that particular player isn't very good at using it, or it's not great against the opponent. So yeah, there could be some drawbacks to it, but regardless, thematically, I think it's so fitting and very cool.
Or you have that one move in there that's like your opponent, when you see that one get unlocked, you're like, fuck, now it's over.
Ah, shit. Here we go again.
He has got one of the best themes in this entire series. It is a hard rock thrash metal song called Must Die. You know your character has reached ultimate edge status when their theme is called Must Die. In fact, you know what? I haven't brought it up yet because I was waiting for this exact moment right now. BlazBlue has amazing music all around. I mentioned that Guilty Gear's creator, Daisuke Ishiwatari.
Well, he did work on the soundtrack, and I mean, Guilty Gear's music is incredible, so it makes sense.
I did the score for this game, and if you know Daisuke Ishiwatari, you know his music goes all in. There are so many amazing themes in this game. Makoto's is this adventurous, upbeat score. The Sector 7 theme has this smooth, poppy, almost mechanical, getting stuff done
she's
vibe.
on a scooter.
Azrael has one of the best threatening villain themes ever. And Bang Shizugami has the ultimate put it on at the gym Saturday morning superhero theme. There are so many winners in this game's soundtrack, and again, the fact that this game kept reusing assets and kept bringing back characters, that meant they kept bringing back their score, so by the time you get to Central Fiction, you just have wall-to-wall bangers all over the place. Now, back to Susanoo, I should mention that he was an unlockable character, but you could also buy him as DLC to get him instantly. And considering that the way to unlock him was to beat the story mode, the long-ass story mode, yeah, nobody's going to judge you for just buying him. This isn't like Mortal Kombat 11, where if you play the story mode for an hour, then you unlock Frost, but they still decide to try and sell her to you anyways. No, there's legitimate reasons to just go ahead and fork over the cash now. And speaking of that, there were 3 other DLC characters.
Well, either that, or 30 hours trying to fight the same boss over and over again to beat him. You know, at least there's a way to get him for free. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
S, a robotic girl who comes from a spin-off game and has a mountain of lore behind her, but the only thing that you really need to know in this game is that she was summoned by the Azure itself to be its guardian. Then there's Mai Natsume. Yeah, remember her from the light novel last time? She finally gets to jump into the fray, and she fights with a giant spear that deals major damage and has huge range. And then the final character to be added,
my goodness,
Jubei. Yes, a character who has been in this story ever since the very beginning was finally playable. Fans spent years asking for Jubei to be playable, and I'd like to think that's why he was saved until the end. I mean, if you gotta go out, might as well go out on the character everyone wants. Now, once again, there is a gigantic story mode, and once again, they changed up the structure, but
like
I actually dig it this time.
Sora. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah, true. I mean, how many years has Sora been requested to join Smash?
For so long. And it was one of those that people just thought would be impossible because of all the rights complications of it. Mm-hmm. It's like even non-Kingdom Hearts fans were like, oh yeah, this is huge.
Now you only have one story, but after you complete a chapter, of which there are 100 by the way, just to give you an idea of this game's length, but whenever you complete a certain chapter, then you'll unlock a side story. These stories aren't long, some of them are only about 5 minutes, some of them are so short I could show you their entirety right now as I am saying this sentence. But these side stories show you what the other characters are doing during the moments in the main plot. It kind of reminds me of when a comic book company does a massive crossover event, and that's all contained within the main storyline, but then you got a tie-in issue over here that may or may not focus on something important and it just shows you what the other characters are up to. Now, as for the story itself, it's close to as long as Chrono Phantasma's, but it is far more comprehensive.
Thank goodness.
I mean, granted, that's not really saying much, but I could at least understand most of it. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that this time we finally got answers to some of the biggest questions in the entire series. Things that had been bugging me since the very first game were finally explored here, and that's great. But there is one small issue that I have with the story this time. And, well, honestly, the entire game itself, really. You see, BlazBlue has been pretty lucky to not have any huge controversies. Each game sold pretty decently, there were no big behind-the-scenes disputes. At least over at ArcSys. But this game was distributed by Axis. And yes, that did confuse me for several years.
What happened? I don't know about this company.
They're also the distributors for Zero Escape, but... They're just kind of a mess.
I see. Gotcha.
They were the ones responsible for the English dubs, and on August 24th, 2016, just a little over 2 months before the game would be released on home consoles, Axis took to Twitter and announced that because it would take about 6 months to do a dub, they were going to skip it this time and just put the game out with the Japanese track. And hey, that's understandable. I mean, I was upset to not get the English dub, but when these games are getting more competitive online scenes, so everybody needs to be able to start playing at the exact same time, and you run the risk of the conclusion of this storyline being spoiled over those 6 months. Yeah, that's too good.
There's definitely been a push to have games launch globally and not have the Japanese game come out like a year or two before the rest of the global versions. Understandable that they would drop things to keep that schedule, because I think that is definitely most people's priority.
I feel like this is a very common case for MMOs too, where it releases in its home country, and then a year or two later, it comes to worldwide global, but then you're just feeding content that has been out for 2, maybe even 3 years by
It
now.
happens a lot.
Yeah.
Like Twisted Wonderland did that. It came out in JP 5 years ago, and then 3 years ago the English came out.
I guess when it comes to the fighting game, though, it's not like you're missing out. And like the most important part here would be the competitive scene, considering, you know, the fighting game aspect. You don't need to understand what the characters are saying per se, or get a dub of it. If it's subtitle, maybe that's fine. Even not, then you could still play the game. But yeah, I mean, more global releases is always a good thing.
Reasons to skip the dub so that way it can just be released around the world at the exact same time. What isn't understandable, though, is the fact that none of the English cast members were told about this.
What?
Yeah, the English cast, who had been with this game for close to a decade, found out they were not going to be coming back from this very tweet. Which, even if you don't care about the English dub, you have to admit that's maybe the most dickish way of telling someone their services are no longer needed.
What the
Patrick
fuck?
Seitz, the voice of Ragna, the script adapter and voice director for Continuum Shift Extend, and the guy who arranged for all the voice actors to be in the BlazBlue anime, in other words, a guy who is kind of a big deal for these games, took to Facebook after this announcement and wrote, quote, "I'm disappointed by the news, and I'm especially disappointed to be
honestly, I feel like I remember this. People talking about this when it happened. Maybe I'm making it up, but I feel like I do remember this.
Maybe I do too. It's just that there have been so many controversies with voice actors that I don't remember a specific one.
Yeah.
Like one I can think of immediately was the Bayonetta voice actress, and that whole debacle.
Yeah, there's been a lot of weird controversies around voice actors. Some of them, like the voice actors, are justified. Some of them not so much.
Mm-hmm. You really have to read into the situation
100%
more.
Justified.
This one is dickish from the company. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very unprofessional, let's say.
Be a tweet. Reaching out to the cast would have been a simple enough courtesy for Access to extend. Maybe they think we don't much care either way, but many of us do. I know I do. TLDR version, BlazBlue Central Fiction isn't getting dubbed. I'm sad about, irate about how impersonally I found out, and not putting any particular stock in a dub happening after the fact. After all this time, it hurts to be told that we're not so central to the fiction after all.
Oh, damn!
Damn, a very personal appeal and some...
Bro, oh. Honestly, just from the way this was written, you could tell this guy loves this series, man.
Yeah. Aw.
And I suppose there's a connection that you're going to form with the character that you're voicing. So, yeah, this must feel like a betrayal of trust, perhaps akin to like getting betrayed by an ex. How dare you? You cheated on me!
Damn.
I don't know. I haven't voice acted a character, but like I know the pain that I felt when Mondo died.
Yeah.
I loved voicing that
I
guy.
get attached to characters regardless of my own investment in them. So I can only imagine, if I had put like work into a character like that.
Actual work for so many
have it
years.
ripped away from you.
Yeah.
Solid wordplay. And the cast weren't the only ones upset. A Change.org petition was launched to prove to ArcSys that they wanted the English dub to be added in. A petition that ended up gaining 6,656 signatures. God damn it, guys. You were 10 away from getting a very appropriate number for this series. Well, as upset as people were about this decision, it didn't really translate to the reviews. This game received generally the same positive scores as the previous games. And while sales history for this game isn't available, based upon physical copies sold and going off of Steam Spy's digital record, it looks like the game ended up selling around 700 to 800,000 copies, which sure isn't as high as the first game, but it isn't uncommon for a game like this that just keeps changing and growing and building upon the previous game rather than trying to reset itself to slowly lose players over time. But hey, 700 to 800,000 was still pretty high for an Arc Systems game, and it remains incredibly popular in the FGC to this day. You go to any tournament anywhere, you're going to see a Central Fiction pool. And ArcSys realized the popularity of this game because after Guilty Gear Strive saw a huge success largely thanks to their smooth rollback netcode, they announced out of nowhere that they were going to go back and patch rollback into the Steam version. Now, I don't exactly remember when the rollback got added to this game, but checking Steam charts, I don't think it was around here.
Holy shit!
Here. I feel like it was somewhere around here.
Rollback netcode is so important for fighting games nowadays, especially after COVID too. Like online matches need to be smooth, and that helps achieve it. So I can understand why then. If the game didn't sell very well initially because it didn't have it, now it has it, of course, people are going to play it. It's just a good game.
So if you want to get into this game and you don't want to mess with the endless ocean of single-player content, you can still go online right now and play other people with some of the best netcode in the industry. So, that's it. That is the end of the main BlazBlue story. But it is not all there is to the BlazBlue franchise, because Mori said he wanted to extend BlazBlue beyond just the main series, and boy, he wasn't keen about that. Because for a game with only 4 mainline installments, they pumped out so many spin-offs for this thing. Here we go, lightning round.
What the?
First up, BlazBlue Super Melee Fighters for the DS. It's an arena fighter using chibi characters that feel like they're meant to be a callback to the Teach Me Miss Lychee skits. Never played this one, but it does look super charming. What I did play, though, was the next game, BlazBlue Clone Phantasma for the 3DS. It takes the chibi sprites of the last game, and you just mash away at wave after wave of these cannon fodder clones. Again, this one looks charming, too bad the game itself stinks. It is completely mindless, way too repetitive. It feels like something that you would put out as a free phone game, and even then, there's way better free phone games out there.
Yeah.
But if you do want to play it for any reason, it is still available on the 3DS eShop. At least for however long that sticks around. Next up, for phones and the Nintendo...
about that.
Switch Eat Beat Dead Spike San. This is a rhythm game where you control Dead Spike, the giant face that Ragna sends out as a projectile as it tries to eat up everything while dragging Ragna behind him. I did not know this game existed before doing this video, and I still can't believe it's real, but hey, it does look fun, and BlazBlue music is great, so making a rhythm game around that does kind of make sense. Then you have BlazBlue Battle Cards, a card game for phones released in 2015. Sadly, the game...
Play your distortion drive, Yugi! Devour darkness now!
So edgy.
It is. It is.
The game has been taken down and can no longer be played, but if you want to play a card game, then I will go ahead and mention they did get a spin-off tie-in with the competitive deck building game Xseed. But now we start getting into the big spin-offs. On the PS3 and Steam, a light novel called X-Blaze Code Embryo was released. And you remember S? Yeah, this is where she's from. This is both a prequel to BlazBlue and set in an alternate reality because nothing in BlazBlue can ever just be one thing. It follows Toya Kaguri, your typical light novel high school protagonist, who one day discovers a mysterious conflict happening in his city where people are developing strange powers and
like baby Akechi, not Akechi,
Adachi.
Adachi, that's what I'm looking for.
It's the fit. It's 100% the fit. He kind of has the same haircut-ish.
This does the tired eyes.
Yeah. This does look like Adachi back in the day when he learned about, you know, how power hungry you could get. About certain urges that he had. But yeah.
Have to be hunted down by the robotic S. From there, S ends up moving in with Toya to make sure that he's not infected, and they end up meeting a ton of other characters that are all involved in this big battle between humans, sorcerers, and monsters, and S starts to open up and care about her new friends. It's not bad, but it is very by the books. I mean, you got a standard high school protag boy whose defining characteristic is he's nice and caring. He meets up with a blonde girl with a giant sword who moves in with him as she tries to protect him in this new strange war that he suddenly discovered. I mean, this is basically just a Fate Stay Night fanfic right here.
Yeah. Yeah, true. It's just Saber all over again. No.
Saber face has infected other games.
So I will say that a huge chunk of the terminology from BlazBlue does show up in here, only slightly twisted for this new world that you find yourself in. So it was kind of neat going, oh, hey, they're talking about that thing. I understood that reference. Now there is one interesting thing about this game, and that's how you progress through the story. There are multiple possible endings, but there's no decisions that you have to make throughout the game. Instead, you'll occasionally get news stories on your phone and you have to check them. Depending on what stories you decide to read will determine what path the game takes.
Interesting.
This is a similar system to the Steins Gate visual novel. where I think there were some decisions,
that makes sense
but
for Steins Gate.
yeah, oftentimes you would be able to trigger flags for particular endings by either checking an SMS that was sent to you or not checking it and then proceeding with the story. I don't know which visual novel did that first, but that's where I recognize it from.
It's an interesting idea, although I was reading up how you get these different endings online, and it said that to get character-specific endings, you must only read stories that are also being read by those characters. But you don't know who's read what stories until after you've opened up and read those stories.
Okay, well, that is a pretty massive flaw. Yes. So you'd probably have to use a guide for this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like for visual novels, you kind of have to use a guide if you want to do it in a timely manner instead of just fumbling around.
Anything with multiple endings, unless it's something that's very well laid out, like I think the Zero Escape series does a great job with those. It's like, for the most part, you're going to end up pulling up a guide.
That is interesting too, yeah. Like, I played, we played through the Zero Escape series, except for ZTD, and we also played I, the Somnia Files, both games. And there was never a point in time where I felt the need to pull up a guide because, well, except when I got stuck on a puzzle, I suppose. But when it came to getting the right endings or finding a new path, that was never, there was never a question as to what I needed to do.
Yeah. No, Uchikochi's really good at structuring them in an understandable format.
Despite how convoluted his stories can get. That's kind of insane, actually. And even structuring them in a format where he can then have this massive reveal. Oh, you thought the timeline was like this? Well, that was a legend. Absolute genius.
Yep.
On the flip side, that's probably why I was so disappointed with my experience playing Anonymous Code, which is another visual novel made by the same guy who made Steins Gate. Essentially, to not spoil too much about that game, it does have like a reversal mechanic where you can go back in time during certain moments, during particular lines of dialogue, and that will put you at a different point in time to then activate a new flag to then go down a different path. But sometimes it wasn't very clear when you could do that. And there would be multiple times where if you did it here, you would go to the same bad ending. So yeah, it was like a pitfall trap. Like, wait, no, you don't know enough information yet. You have to read a few more lines forward, and then you can go back to then know what to do. Yeah.
I see, yeah.
Yeah, it's ultimately I ended up pulling up a guide because like it was not worth the headache. Especially because I was streaming that.
I could see that.
Well, I guess not everybody can be Uchikoshi.
Hard to be
yourself. So, how are you supposed to know?
Some people probably don't want to be him.
What stories to read? How are you supposed to do this on your first try without a guide? You don't know if you were right or wrong until after you've already read the article. Also, have to point this out, I didn't realize that's what you were supposed to do until I got halfway through the game. And if you haven't read enough articles by that point, then the villain shows up, kills you, and the game just ends. It doesn't even cut to credits. It just takes you right back to the title screen.
What?
So I went online, read what
shocking me how many BlazBlue characters I recognized that I didn't know were BlazBlue characters.
I feel that way about a lot of media where it's like, oh, I've heard this song before, but I never knew about this series. Or like, I've seen art of this character before, but I never knew where they came from. They're just there all the time.
They just have more clothes than you remember them having.
Some of them do. I won't deny that. I think the funniest thing was when we did the Bleach video way back when. And then I actually saw Orihime, I think her name is. And I'm like, is that Orihime? That looks like her little sister. She's not as curvy as I remember her being. I wonder why. You know, at least Rangiku was exactly the way that she was drawn, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Autosave and just started reading everything that I could, got back to the halfway point, and the villain once again still showed up and killed me.
Huh?
I went to an even older autosave, read every single report that I could, even got trophies for all the reports I was reading, and the villain still showed up and killed me and kicked me right back to the title screen. So I looked into it, and apparently several other people have had this problem, so I can't tell if it's a bug or if it's one of those things where once you get the bad ending, you're just locked into the bad ending, and the only way to get something new is start the game fresh from the very beginning.
Holy shit.
So yeah, I won't lie to you guys. I didn't finish this one. I looked up.
Yeah, no, you just lock your player out of your game, and then you force them to restart it all over again. At that point, they'll just give up. They'll refund if they can. If not, they'll uninstall. So, yeah. Not a good way to do your visual novel paths, that's for sure.
You gotta let your quick saves be useful.
Yeah, or else why would you have them? Oh my god. I just remembered about anonymous code too. It wasn't just pressing button to go back. It was load a specific save that you made. Or delete specific saves that you made in order to rewrite history and shit like that. Oh man, that was so scary. Yeah.
The rest of the game on YouTube, but considering it's a light novel, I feel I got the gist of it. And while I do think that this ends up being too generic, I still found it to be mildly entertaining. Unlike its sequel, X-Blaze Lost Memories, which might be one of the worst things I've ever played for these retrospectives. And I want you longtime fans out there to think about all the games I've had to play for these retrospectives in the past, and then realize what I just said. I complained about this game on Twitter, and someone told me, clearly you don't know what a light novel is. Oh, I know what a light novel is.
Oh my god, that's right. He did say the story part that he called it a light novel in the part 1. No, it's visual novel. Get it right, Thorgi. How dare you say something wrong in a video? Haha, I got you. God. Now I feel like part of our YouTube comment section.
Actually.
Look, guys. Sometimes we get things wrong, but ultimately we're here to enjoy watching and learning about new things with our friends, so...
I'm very familiar with light novels, which is why I feel confident in saying this is a bad light novel. Folks, if you're defending this thing just because it's a light novel, that's the equivalent of me saying Shaq Fu is a great video game because it's a fighting game, and that's the only criteria I have. X-Blaze Code Embryo might have been kind of generic, but it at least wasn't ear-gratingly annoying, and it was at least a new story. X-Blaze Lost Memory, on the other hand... Okay, at the end of Code Embryo, S realized that she was a threat to reality, so she left for some pocket dimension between the boundary and her world. But then, all of her friends ended up getting hurt because she wasn't there to protect them, so the pain of that caused her to lose all of her memories. Cut to some time later...
Oh my god. Mori, please, not the lose all memories spotlight again. Something new, please. Then again, I could say that about Uchikoshi too. Yeah. Poor Date.
Brand new protagonist, just called Me, goes looking for her younger sister who ran away. She stumbles into S's pocket dimension, and now she finds S, or at least the embryo power that was within S, but now she's an airheaded ditz wearing nothing but lingerie. You then have to walk around these blank generic maps, picking up 4 memory fragments, and after each fragment, you're treated to something that makes me want to eat my own game console so that way I don't have to listen to it anymore.
Oh my god. The going up and going down just to be in the right position to activate it. Oh, man. That brings back so many bad memories. Sometimes video games are just like that, man.
Anymore.
Isn't it? Not gonna lie, some of these animations actually remind me of the beginning after the end anime adaptation.
I was never huge into beginning after the end, but I feel bad for all those other fans because it was.
Yeah. This certainly wasn't a solo leveling kind of adaptation.
I've been there. A lot of my favorite series have gotten that adaptation. Yeah. So I feel for them.
Yeah, it's that. Over and over every time that you find a fragment. Then, when you have all 4 memory fragments, S, now calling herself Nobody, will quiz you on
what Oh my god, Kingdom Hearts. Bro. It's always been Kingdom Hearts.
What she talks to you about, and if you get the questions right, then you can move on to the next floor. If you get them wrong, then you just take the quiz again. There is literally no negative to screwing these up other than just wasting your own time. You then move on to the next floor, but in between these floors, you watch scenes from the first game play out. And these scenes go on as long, if not longer, than the rest of the game. Once I realized, oh, this is just the game that I already played through. I'm gaining nothing from watching this. I just started mashing my way through these cutscenes, and I swear to you, it still took me almost 15 minutes to get through one of these cutscenes, and again, that was with me just mashing the skip button non-stop. This is kind of disgusting. Like, if you want to say, oh, I don't care if the gameplay is bad, I don't play light novels for the gameplay, then fine. I still think it sucks, but whatever, it's not the point. The story is, I understand that. But speaking of the story, just think about this. Think about the fact that over half of this game is just watching the game that you more than likely already played. And that's it.
We said that BlazBlue are the masters of reusing assets.
Hell yeah, buddy! Let's go! I can only imagine what little
That would be so annoying.
of a budget this game had, considering how simple the gameplay is.
The sprites from the first game looked really nice.
Yeah.
The sprites from this game look ass.
They do not compare, honestly. I'm not really a fan of visual novels to begin with, despite being the kind of player who really enjoys story and immersing themselves in worlds, but there's just something about it that just doesn't excite me at all, especially if it's going to be repeating.
Visual novels.
Understandable, honestly.
Unless it's fully voiced in English. You lost me, unfortunately.
Hey. Unless we play with friends and voice all the characters ourselves. That was pretty fun.
True.
But here, even with friends, I don't think we could have fun. Not gonna lie.
We'd have fun for like 30 minutes and then we'd be over it.
Yeah.
Like, wait, there's how much more of this?
Right? Yeah. I feel sorry for Thorgi having to go through this, man. About to torment himself.
The vast majority of what you're doing is just walking around a bland map, grabbing an item, watching a child screaming at a lingerie.
This is like a game jam project more than it does a professional video game.
Actually, though, it's like a one-day game jam project. Like, what can you do in one day? This would probably be the result.
Model, and then watching footage of the thing that you already played. It's just that, over and over. Well, okay, I'll admit, I'm exaggerating a little bit here. All the scenes from the first game are now being told from S's point of view, so you do get a new perspective on the whole situation.
Although this isn't exactly like replaying through Nier Replicant, and then you're getting the perspective of a different character, or thoughts, or new information. At least there it was worth it, and it had a point. I feel here it was definitely reused, but add in a little something new so that players don't get too mad at us, maybe. Still though, I don't think it's worth it to check this one out. Maybe just look at a summary.
And that also does mean that you do see a few scenes that did not get shown in the original game. And there are some additional scenes between characters that you can unlock that are brand new. And at the end of the game, you do get a brand new bit of story that shows how S does end up coming back. So if you are just the biggest S stan out there, then sure, I can see how you would enjoy this game. I, however, am not the biggest S stan, so to me this game was nothing more than just watching everything that I had just already watched and a never-ending conversation between
I don't know, if I was an S fan and she became this character, even if it was temporary, I'd be pretty upset.
Do we have any S fans watching this video? If you are, please let us know what you think of this development, whether you would play this game despite, you know, all of its drawbacks because you really like the character, or does this ruin the character for you? Let us know.
And a screaming toddler. Oh, and you want to know the kicker? You want to know what really kills me about this game? It's that out of all the BlazBlue spin-offs, this is the one that actually has canon lore to it. Not only does this game explain how S comes back and therefore is able to be in Central Fiction, but also The nameless pro tag? The screaming toddler in question? Yeah, that's 9.
This game ruins everything that I love about one of my favorite characters of the series, so I will never think about this ever again, and I will remove it from my memory. I was like, wait a she does look kind of familiar, but probably not. Just some random OC character.
You know, I already thought that it was kind of odd that they took the, what's the magical spinoff for Fate? Where you just turn all the, waifus into the
magical
lollies.
girls.
And you're like, yeah, this is a great idea.
Surprisingly quite popular.
Yeah.
I wasn't into it personally, but hey, there's an audience for it.
That's right. That's 9 the Phantom, and her lost sister that she's looking for is Celica. This is actually a secret origin story for 9, and I love
You're
9.
shitting me.
I love Celica, but no bit of backstory is worth saying through any of these exchanges. Well, luckily, our next spin-off game wasn't just a massive improvement, it was also another fighting game. Although, when this new title was revealed at EVO 2017, it was not what people were expecting.
BB tag?
Central Fiction had been out for a year, and the final DLC had just been revealed, so when people saw a big trailer start up with Jin and Ragna squaring off, they thought, oh, is this an update to Central Fiction? No, wait, that's a brand new stage. Could this be a brand new game? Could we already be getting the next BlazBlue? Only to be greeted with this.
Persona characters.
Listen to that crowd. That is the sound of a stadium full of people collectively losing their minds. Hell, look at that kid. He's having a religious experience right now. I remember the first time that I saw this.
Fighting game fans can be some of the most intense people about the thing that they love, and that is awesome. Yeah. Watching EVO is so fun because of the crowd, the announcers, the players themselves. Everybody gets so into it.
This trailer, I'm not kidding you, I legit thought was a joke. Like, I fully expected Mori to just come up there on stage and just go, I gotcha. But no, this was 100% real. Toshimichi Mori said that for his next game, he wanted to do a tag fighter. And originally, he intended for the game to just use BlazBlue characters. But because of how wild and varied the playstyles of BlazBlue characters were, he said that it would be too difficult to put them on teams together. Think about that for a second. This series began with Mori saying they wanted to tone down the combat to make it more accessible. And now 4 games in, these characters were so insane that if you had to control more than one of them at a time, your face would melt. So he decided to make a completely new game with brand new combat, and it was going to be a crossover between BlazBlue and, well, really just any franchise he could get his hands on. The game launched with characters from Persona 4 Arena, Under Night in Birth, and the anime series Ruby all thrown into a pot to make one big anime gumbo. Now, Persona 4 and Under Night in Birth makes sense.
I understand now.
Yes, because of the Ruby characters. That's exactly why Kane bought and played Day 1. And, yeah.
This makes so much more sense. I was like, I didn't realize Kane was a BlazBlue fan.
No. Kane has never played a mainline BlazBlue game. It's just this game. And the thing is, right?
So much more sense.
This game also sets some pretty unrealistic expectations as to what fighting games are supposed to be. Because this game has auto combos. Kane has never done any motion inputs. So
Gotcha,
yeah. You just press 2 buttons to do a DP, and you don't have to do the pretty hard motion forward and stuff like that.
No pretzels?
No pretzels. There are no pretzels in sight. And as I said earlier about 9's mechanic, where here we learned that she has to do 3 specific moves to get a specific ability out from that. But in there, it's just you press a button when she has a certain level meter and it changes the move. So it's just simpler as a whole.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what they were saying. Mori was like, we need to redo the combat so that you can have control of more than one character and not lose your mind.
Yeah. You press A 4 times in a row. It does a combo. It also does an assist with the other character you have in your team. And you swap immediately to that character. You press A 4 more times. You do the same combo. It swaps to another character. That's basically it. But I also feel like while that would significantly appeal more towards the casual audience who doesn't really play a lot of fighting games, and they can do all the cool shit by pressing just a few buttons. That also means that there's not going to be a whole lot of depth for professionals to explore. And for me personally, it was like, I didn't feel like in my time investment into the game would result in a satisfying result, because I wouldn't feel like I got much better. I felt like I would just understand the mechanics more and when to press the same button, but I didn't feel that accomplishment that I got when I got the combo trials in Guilty Gear Strive or anything like that.
Sure, yeah.
Which, yeah, I think is why the systems where, like in Street Fighter 6 and BlazBlue Central Fiction, where they have the two options of, do you want to do the motion inputs or do you just want to do the smart combos? And you can select either or depending on what level you want to be in that fighting game, essentially. It is really good. You satisfy both people. More fighting games should have that. But that being said, if you want to try out BB Tag, it's there, Serby. Press a few buttons and you could do all the stuff that we couldn't do in Guilty Gear Strive because of the hard-to-do inputs.
I mean, Under Night and Birth was already a fighting game, and ArcSys helped to develop that. Persona 4 got a fighting game spin-off that ArcSys made, so yeah, obviously those two could show up. But why Ruby? How the heck did this internet anime series that never had a fighting game
just
before
more being a fan?
Probably. Considering there's also a Senran Kagura character in there, yeah.
thrown into this mix? Well, honestly, it's actually kind of simple. Toshi Michimori just said in an interview with Forbes magazine that he liked Ruby.
Yeah.
Then Rooster Teeth heard about this, reached out to him, and yeah, that's it. It's kind of wild how often big video game crossovers happen, not because of giant, massive corporations coming together and working something out, but just because two guys happen to say hi to each other. Now, I'll be honest with you.
Kingdom Hearts started in an elevator.
Do have some complaints about this game. Hell, many people
I do too.
BlazBlue was a series that, as I said, had tons of single-player content. But this game only had the story modes, and that's it. But the big complaint that people were up in arms about was that this game was announced to have 40 characters. Wow, that's huge! And half of them were going to be DLC. Yeah, I've seen some crummy DLC practices before, but revealing that half of your roster would be DLC before the game even came out isn't a good look.
Not good. Not a good look,
Also, this is a tag-based fighter and a crossover, and those two tend to have really large rosters, so that way you can fit in there a good chunk of characters from all the various franchises.
I mean, look at Marvel vs. Capcom. That roster is insane. Jeez.
So launching with only 20 characters was way too low. I mean, heck, Ruby only has 4 main characters, and 2 of them were going to be DLC. You couldn't even put all 4 of them in the base roster?
Come on.
Once again, this game was reusing assets as it took all the sprites from the other games and put them in here, with the Ruby sprites being the only exceptions. And as I said, I love reusing assets because it allows you to include more characters. So why are there only 20? Central Fiction had just come out 2 years before this, and it launched with over 30 characters. If you wanted to get someone into these games, why would you suggest the game with a significantly smaller roster when the much larger game with far more content in it is right over there and still gains support? However, despite these problems, I still love this game, and it is all because of the gameplay. Yes, the inputs are simpler than they were in Central Fiction, but it still is one of the most insane fighters in recent history. You can pull off incredible combos with just a few buttons. The amount of defensive and offensive mechanics are through the roof, and the combat moves so fast.
That, I will say, is the upside to this game. I understand the full casual appeal to it. It's just wasn't for me, personally. Like, the meter goes up so fast, and you could pull off a bunch of super moves within just a few seconds of combat, really. Super fun, super fast-paced, very arcadey. Really good for introducing your casual friends to just playing a fighting game together. Of like, I don't know, come over for a party, play some games, just learn how to press a few buttons, and anybody can play in like a few hours, or an hour, probably,
Heck, this became one of the first fighting games that I ever platinumed because I just wanted to keep playing it. I kept wanting to match different characters together and see what weird combinations I could come up with. Not just for mechanical reasons, but also because this game made sure to lay on the fan service as so many different characters have unique interactions with each other. And most of the FGCs seem to enjoy this as well. The game built up a strong player base and even became...
fun with that too.
I didn't get the chance to see a lot of the interactions, unfortunately. Maybe I'll go back and play it. But I did experience a few desyncing issues with Kane, where I would win, and he would also win, and we would both technically get the achievement for winning. So...
What?
I don't know what was going on, because when I was fighting Kane, his character was moving and fighting back, and my character was also moving and fighting back, and then we both won and both lost. At the same time. Yeah.
It's only a little bit of a problem.
A bit, yeah. I hope when I try out Central Fiction with him that the desyncing issues won't be present there. One could hope, because, I mean, at the very least, that game should still be getting support, and hopefully it's better. When we played together, we basically just opened a public room, and we were literally the only room open in BB10. So it wasn't very hard to find each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to see what this game was like on day one. Maybe my thoughts would have been different if there were just more games out there, more people playing it. If you guys played this day one, let us know.
The first BlazBlue game to be featured 2 years in a row at EVO. And beyond the combat, listen, I like BlazBlue, I like Persona, I like Under Night. It's just fun seeing these characters together. Especially in the story mode, which didn't just bring back the English cast for all the returning characters, it even provided English voices for the characters who didn't get them in Central Fiction, as well as for the entire cast of Under Night in Birth, which to this day has never had an English dub. And the story mode is immensely simpler this time around, and it pretty much only exists just for fun. It's just here to be a good time seeing these characters together. And I'm cool with that. I mean, I'm a massive Persona nerd, so seeing Chie hanging out with Ragna and talk about the power of friendship while Ragna just looks at her like, the hell are you talking about? I love it. I just have to throw this out there. Out of all the wacky, nutty ArcSys round announcers, Can't Escape from Crossing Fate is easily my favorite, and I'm legit mad this game is no longer talked about, because for 6 months I kept laughing my butt off at all the memes people were making around it.
You win. He does look like the father on Fresh Prince. Can't escape from Crossing Fate.
But here's where the wackiness got cranked up to 11. Yes, the game had a disgusting amount of DLC, but after the initial storm passed, they announced a second season in BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle 2.0. This didn't just see updates to the gameplay and brand new story content, but also several brand new fighters, including multiple characters from brand new series. You now had characters joining the fray from Arcana Hearts, Senran Kagura, because of course Mori P is a Senran Kagura fan.
Hell yeah.
And even the super niche cult favorite fighter Akatsuki Blitzkampf.
I don't know what that was, but when I saw the giant tank with that skull on it, I was like, I need to know more about this.
You're like, say less.
Yeah. Despite some of my complaints about the gameplay, yes, I do appreciate this game for having a lot of fun.
I like fan service crossover games. Like that, you get me. You sold me. I'm in.
Including the Blitz tank, who I honestly believe might have gotten more people talking about this game than...
I was looking at it. I had to look at it for such a long time because that looks kind of wrong, not gonna lie. Especially the character select where you just see the shaft and then the skull. I'm like, huh?
It's so blocky, and then there's just the skull on top.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I'm not a mech designer, but I think this might be peak.
Guys, I think we found Serpy's game. Look, if you get into this, I will play. I will learn the game. I will teach you, Serpy. Anything that I can do to get you into fighters.
Back all my negatives. You will play.
I don't care. If I get to play this with friends, this game is the best game out there. If it gets people who are casuals into fighting games, hell yeah, I'll play it.
I don't own it, but maybe I need to, yeah.
We'll see. And as I said, very simple inputs. Nothing like Guilty Gear Strive. You can learn it. I can learn it. Batman could probably also learn how to play.
I do like the tag format for fighting games. I think that's fun.
And honestly, yeah, that might have been my main issue with the game. Was just because I'd never played tag fighters before, so I was like so confused trying to swap characters and do all that.
I grew up, I played a lot of Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite fighting game that I've put the most time into is One Piece Burning Blood. So
I don't know either of those yet. We'll get to them.
Any other update for any game ArcSys has ever made. Even people who didn't know what BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle was were saying,
they got a tank. I'm sorry. Did somebody just say a tank?
Real talk, at the end of the day, despite all the problems I have with this game, I still love the combat, and the final roster update made me want more. If you ask me, hey, what one fighting game would you want to see another season of DLC for? I would say BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle without even thinking about it. I wanted to see what Season 3 was going to bring us because it feels like this was just one more update away from being the officially licensed version of Mugen. We could have gotten all the weird obscure fighters together. Breaker's Revenge, Asura Blade, Rumblefish, Matra Melee, Melty Blood. You know Melty Blood would have been in there. Anything not named.
Well, okay, yeah, there we go. Melty Blood. All the fake characters in there. Oh, yeah. We'll get to it when we get to it.
Nailed down could have been up for grabs in that Season 3 of DLC, and I wish it had happened. Oh well. Even if it's no longer getting updates, just like Central Fiction, its final update did install rollback netcode into the game, so that way you and all your friends can cross Fate without any hiccups online. And that
about that might not work as intended. Hopefully Central Fiction doesn't have that issue. It might just be my connection with Cade, who knows? We experienced it quite a few times though.
My guess is probably they shut down pretty much all their servers for it. If you can be the only public lobby in the entire game, there's probably like one server for it.
Oh, that's probably the case. That is so unfortunate. Regardless, there were a few games that went okay. There weren't like lag issues during gameplay. It's just the desyncing issues sometimes. But yeah. It's still a lot of fun. You still get to do really cool things without having to learn hours and hours into doing combo trials. So yeah, try it out.
Yeah.
Brings us to the final spin-off and the most recent BlazBlue title. In August 2017, Mori announced that a brand new RPG would be on the way for phones and mobile devices called BlazBlue Alternative Dark Wars.
Oh no.
And I don't know much about the development of this game. Not a lot has been revealed just yet, but I can tell you it was not good. Because the game was announced in 2017 with an expected 2018 release date, and it would not come out until February 2021. Okay. A 3-year-long delay on a game.
Wait, isn't this kind of like FGO? This combat at least looks kind of similar, not gonna lie.
I have never played FGO, but it does look like what I've seen of FGO.
That was expected to be developed in just 1 year. Not a great start, but was the game fun at least? I honestly have no idea. This game never got a global release, so all information that I have on is pretty much just secondhand accounts. But from what I've gathered talking to people online, you pick a blank protagonist to represent yourself while being escorted around by the brand new character, Seal of Sulfur, and you then work for the Mitsurugi Agency, an organization that first appeared in the X-Blaze games. And after the events of Central Fiction, multiple realities, or possibilities as this franchise calls
it's FGO. It's literally just BlazBlue version of the FGO gacha game.
them, are created, and now you have to pair up with BlazBlue characters from the main series, the spin-offs, the mangas, the past, the future, and just flat-out alternate versions of themselves to stop these brand new threats. These alternate versions can include things like young Valkenhayn, Tsubaki from the future wearing Hakumen-style armor, which was actually teased at the end of Central Fiction, and evil versions of Mai and Kagura. This game looks nuts, and it apparently had some big, massive, overarching plot to it that was going to mean a lot to the entire lore of BlazBlue.
Union Cross,
Kingdom Hearts? Yeah, I was gonna say. Why do they put all the important lore in the mobile game? Why?
Stop it.
And we're never going to find out what that was. Because yes, after being trapped in development hell for 4 years, this game was released in February 2021. and then shut down in January 2022, not even making it a full year. Mori took to social media and commented on the announcement saying, quote, "From the beginning, various difficulties have arisen in continuing its operation. We have been trying various approaches to making our users enjoy the service as much as possible, but the results have not been what we hoped."
I'll make you like my game. Probably a translation thing.
No, 100%. Just like the wording of it.
4. As our customers may well know, we have been running the game for almost a year with various problems, and both development and operation have been going through trial and error every day. So yeah, we don't know the specifics,
Very rocky
but it's clear that
cycle
the production of this game was a mess, and they just couldn't keep it going. And you know that hit Mori hard. He had huge plans for this game. He even went on Twitter and tweeted out that the true villain of the series was going to be revealed to be this guy.
Ooh?
Damn.
Who is this guy? It's the generic protag man from X-Blaze. Yes, the good...
Bro got a glow up.
Right?
Jeez.
I sprinkled a little edgelord in there. Yeah.
boy everyman protag was going to be revealed to have a dark, gritty future self. Do you think Mori P likes the Fate series? I think Mori P likes the Fate series. So yes,
he made a literal game based off of it. Yeah, hell yeah. Of course he likes Fate. I can understand why though. Like Fate is good. It's just
Fate
fun.
is fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is really unfortunate though. I feel like the plans here were also quite grand, but yeah, it just doesn't meet expectations for what BlazBlue currently is. Yeah.
Order.
I see you, Serby.
Sadly, Dark Wars was a bust, but Mori did come out in spring of this year and announced that there was more BlazBlue on the way. And in July, it was announced that a brand new roguelike set within the series was going to be coming to mobile devices and
apparently
for PC.
Quite fun.
All right. Hey, I mean, it's not a fighting game, but roguelikes are fun. The gameplay preview looks pretty good, and Mori made it sound like there was going to be even more BlazBlue planned after this. The future of this series has yet to be written, and there is still a universe of possibilities still open for this beloved series. BlazBlue creator Toshimichi Mori leaves Arc System Works. Of course he did! I forgot, it's still 2022, the year where every game I do a retrospective on has to have a bad ending.
So, does this mean the rights for BlazBlue are still with ArcSys and Mori's just not going to be part of it anymore?
I mean, it could be similar because, like, when Uchikoshi left Spike Chunsoft still has the rights to the Somnium Files, but Uchikoshi has gone back with Spike and worked collaboratively to make the second Eye and for the new one coming out too. So it's like it's not off the table. It really just depends on probably how much more he wants to work with ArcSys. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Or if ArcSys just decides to do their own thing with the franchise, which is always also possible depending on how rights are.
We'll have to see. It is damn unfortunate because this was leading up into something bigger. We've had a few failed attempts, but like, this setting has potential. It has the potential to be even more than just, one of the biggest fighting games out there. The Skyrim version of BlazBlue is still out there, I'm sure.
Imagine.
I would play it.
A Souls-like BlazBlue.
Yo, is Souls-like? Hell yeah! You're just going through the entire Kagatsuchi city? That would be epic. Yeah.
Yes, in September of this year, some eagle-eyed fans noticed that Toshimichi Mori's name had been removed from Arc System's list of directors. And then, a few days later, Mori took to Twitter and confirmed everyone's fears that he had indeed left the company. And that's about all we know. Yeah,
we don't know if he's starting his own work, if he's going somewhere else, just question marks. I wonder if we know that by now.
Yeah, if anybody knows.
This is 3 years ago?
Let me see.
Almost.
2. Yeah. But hopefully by now we have some news and some potential future for BlazBlue.
No other information revealed about this so far. But considering that Mori has been light on details and nobody else from Arc Systems has commented on the situation, and Mori doesn't have any future jobs lined up at the moment, This doesn't exactly sound like things ended on the best note. Normally when someone leaves for greater things or to pursue their own goals, typically everyone at the company wishes them well. They don't tend to bury it and go radio silent. So we have no idea why
Takeshi and Kodaka left to make their own studios on good terms.
Yeah, you have to openly make sure that the public knows that this is a thing that we both agreed on for the better for both parties, as opposed to here where it's more like, yeah, we're trying to just forget about it. Then, yeah.
He stepped down. Maybe he did want to pursue a different path, but considering how much he loved this universe and these characters and now he won't be able to use them anymore, I kind of doubt it. And I hate to just start speculating, but it could very well have had something to do with the fact that Alternative Dark Wars spent 4 years in production hell, only to then be shut down before its 1-year anniversary. Yeah, you spend that much time on a live service only for it to crash that hard? That's not the kind of thing that you can just wash off your record.
The unfortunate truth that a lot of money is going to go into that, and it's not going to make a whole lot back. So if you cost the company too much, then you have to step down. It's just a agreed upon thing internally. It sucks. Bad. Yeah. Not every game can be a banger, and sometimes you try your best, but...
I mean, heck, this wasn't even the first BlazBlue mobile game that failed. They already had a strike against them with that card game, but it could also have had something to do with the changing face of Arc Systems. After the last BlazBlue, Arc Systems kind of exploded. They were hired by Bandai Namco to develop the insanely popular Dragon Ball FighterZ, leading to success unlike anything the company had ever seen. And that translated into sales for their other games as well. I mentioned that Guilty Gear, despite being their flagship title, never really sold all that well. That is, until Guilty Gear Strive came out and sold 1 million copies in a year, which I know some people might think that's not that impressive, but for Guilty Gear, yeah, that's really darn impressive. It was the biggest Guilty Gear release of all time and was bigger than the last several BlazBlues.
That's the thing though, right? Yeah, we're starting to see this. The reason why BlazBlue came to become so big was because Guilty Gear wasn't doing good. We need something.
Guilty Gear was down.
Yeah, we need something to help us out of this rut, and BlazBlue was there to help them. But now, now they have things that are just doing way better than BlazBlue, unfortunately. So the roles swap. Sometimes you have to know when you have to step down.
As a result of these increasing sales, ArcSys CEO Kitaoka announced that they want the company to actively pursue more fighting games based on existing IPs that are popular in the West. And BlazBlue definitely has Western fans, but not as many as some other IPs that they could be pursuing. Mori, ArcSys is now a Western developer. Maybe Western audiences enjoy BlazBlue, we don't know. And frankly, we don't want to know. It's an IP that we can do without. Again, these are 100% just speculations based upon the evidence that we have available to us, which is certainly not the complete picture. But yeah, decreasing sales, years of work and money put into a failed project, Mori wanting to focus on pretty much anything that wasn't a fighting game while the company just wanted to focus on fighting games. There's a good chance there was a lot of factors behind this. Now, Mori has said that he isn't done making games, and he wants his next game to be one that the BlazBlue fans will enjoy, but that next game would not be BlazBlue. ArcSys still owns that title and the characters, meaning Mori can't touch it. Okay. So in a very wild, roundabout, cosmic levels of irony way, this story has now come full circle. Because ArcSys made BlazBlue because they no longer own their flagship title that they
couldn't use the Guilty Gear characters.
Oh my god. It's a perfect circle, just how you like it, Serby.
No, it's a bad circle.
No. Yeah, it really does mirror it, where Daisuke had to step down and let Mori do his thing because Guilty Gear just wasn't it at the time. Now it's time for Mori to step down. This is so depressing because BlazBlue is so good, so cool, but I also understand why. And ultimately, ArcSys is a company, and companies are going to do company things. That's just how they function.
In the end of the day, unfortunately, with things like the entertainment industry as a whole, you can make a passion project that is everything that you want to make, but it still has to make money or it doesn't go anywhere, which is like the real unfortunate thing. Unless you are like working a full-time job doing something else to make your passion project, you still have to cater it to an audience and have it succeed.
100%. Look at any YouTuber. They have passion projects they want to make. It doesn't necessarily mean those passion projects are the thing that the algorithm likes them to make and will promote to people to watch. So ultimately, you just kind of had to find a balance with that or just go full corporate. That's just how things have been going recently.
A lot of the times it's that balance that a lot of them will try and find, where it's like they'll make the things that they know will do well and continue to let their channel succeed. Yeah. And then take that free time, that side project kind of energy into the things that they're actually passionate for.
That's kind of similar to what we're doing currently. It's like, I know a lot of you guys have been waiting quite a long time for these BlazBlue videos to release publicly, but I schedule them out so that I can have time to do the things that I want to do here on the channel. Like live stream some of the games that I want to play. I don't know, go outside and exercise sometimes without having to constantly edit videos all day. Like, I'm sorry, I know you guys want to watch it early, but for me, I still want to live my life too.
You gotta pay some schedule.
Yeah. So that's mainly the reason why. But yeah, it's tough, especially working in any sort of industry where it requires your creativity, your own creation to be put out there to appease the people. And even worse when you're trying to appease the company too.
Yeah. I mean, not only do you have to like make the fans happy, but also the investors happy and all that shit.
On a personal project, on a world that you love, that you made, that you want to be able to control where it goes.
Yeah.
And you're just not getting the results that you wanted.
As a creative, I understand. It feels bad.
Created, and now Arxis is the one holding on to the flagship title whose original creator no longer owns it. Now again, I have to stress this. This just happened 3 months ago. We have no idea if Arxis has any plans for the future of BlazBlue. I kind of doubt it, but as I said, there is that roguelike already in the works, which has not been mentioned at all since this story broke, but still, it could still be out there. Point is, maybe we still do have more BlazBlue on the way.
Okay, the fact that it wasn't, sure whether that game would come out or not, and it still did, we still might have some hope. They still might see some value in the BlazBlue IP. They just had to play their cards a little safer and not make a mobile game, I would say.
I feel like everyone is tempted by the gacha. They look at those numbers and they go, that could be me.
Everybody is. I don't understand why. Because you have to realize your position within the industry and whether or not you can be better than people who have already hit that market. It's like, oh, Hi-Rez develops Paladins. And Overwatch comes out, and now we're in the same genre. But instead of trying to be unique within the hero shooter genre, let's change our entire game to be more like Overwatch. Wait, why are we second and Overwatch is first? Oh no, let's push our developers as far as they can, crunch them overtime, make them come up with new stuff, and monetize the game more so we can make more money. Oh no, the game's dead. Oh. Oof. They had something really cool and unique. They decided to copy somebody else because they were successful. That's just not how you go about it. Yeah. You have this really awesome world. Do the things that only you can do. Just like all the fighting games have been doing up until now. Creating all these unique single-player modes that other fighting games don't offer. By getting creative with the assets that you already possess. Not having to invest any more into it. Just create a few new modes. That's it. Yeah. I guess some people just... It's hard to understand the unique appeal of your own series when you see that the grass is greener on the other side.
That can be true, yeah.
Well, back to Mori, and then he gets to make BlazBlue again. I mean, he and Daisuke are still friends as far as I know, and Daisuke knows a thing or two about what it's like to lose a series that you put your heart and soul into, so...
Exactly. Exactly. It all started because of that to begin with, so... I don't know Daisuke personally, but I'm sure he realizes this fact, so maybe one day. Imagine Guilty Gear crossover with BlazBlue.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Imagine the BlazBlue characters in the Guilty Gear Strive animation.
That would be so cool.
Whoa.
Those models.
I know BlazBlue
Everything would look good in those.
It's famous for the sprites, but like, what if
maybe they'd be willing to work something out. But there's no way of sugarcoating this. The future of this series looks very murky. At least when it comes to new releases. Because here's the thing, folks. You can still get every single one of these games on Steam right now. And as I said, Central Fiction and Cross Tag Battle got rollback updates and still get featured at not just major tournaments, but also pretty much any local scene that you can find. The BlazBlue fanbase is still incredibly active. You can still find people easily who want to play. And even if the fanbase dries up one day, even if everyone just decides overnight, I'm tired of this now, guess what? Because these games are loaded with a metric ton of single-player features, you can still enjoy these games by yourself for days and weeks and months without running out. Another reason why
single-player content's so important.
It keeps the longevity of the game. When the competitive scene dries up with the games that don't have any single-player content, that game is effectively dead. You're just gonna have to find the odd Discord group, and hopefully somebody's willing to play with you. I mean, at least there's that. It's not like other games where the company just straight up shuts it down. All the purchases that you made, gone. We can just take it back.
Content.
It's frustrating when that happens.
The point I'm trying to make is that BlazBlue is something special. It is that perfect combination of memorable characters and fast, addictive gameplay. It's got the fan base that still holds it up and the credentials in the FGC to continue being a strong force on the competitive scene for years. And thankfully, because this game was made back before every single fighting game out there had to be 100% esports live service focused, it means every single game is its own complete package that can survive without the company supporting it. I've been looking forward to tackling this game ever since the start of the year, and going back and doing this deep dive has given me an appreciation for almost every angle of this series. From the music, to the characters, to even the lore, and especially the gameplay. Folks, I record more footage for this retrospective than for any other single video I've ever done. Normally, I just spend about a week capturing footage for these videos, and for this one, I took 2.5 weeks of non-stop recording day and night, and yet I still had to force myself to stop playing them because I just wanted to keep going. So yeah, no matter what happens in the future, if there's a new game from Arxis, a new franchise from Mori in this game's memory, or even if there's nothing, this series is kind of future-proof. It's easily available with timeless combat and appeal, meaning as long as you're ready to jump into the series and pick up a controller, then the wheels of fate will never stop turning.
Hey man, the style of this game is iconic. Well, that's probably going to assist greatly with its longevity. It's just unfortunate though. At the very least, you can still play it.
Yeah.
A lot more than you can say about some other games.
Folks, thank you very much for tuning in to another epic linked retrospective here on this channel. Again, if you like what you saw here today, then make sure that you click that subscribe button. I mentioned it at the beginning of the video, but we're trying to hit 50,000 subs by the end of the year. And
way
man,
past
we're close. We are so close. We just need that last little push. So if you guys could help us out, we would appreciate that so much. And if you're already subscribed and you still want to help this channel, make sure that you give us a thumbs up, leave a comment down below. That stuff lets YouTube know they should be spraying this around. And you can also spread it around yourself and share it around the web wherever you think people might enjoy it. That stuff really does help this channel out. And if you want to get in touch with me, then you can find me out there in the boundary of the internet, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Tumblr, all at Thorgi's Arcade. Thank you guys very much for tuning in today. I hope you all had a very safe, happy holiday season. Thank you very much for all the support that you've given us this year. And I will see you all in 2023.
That video was so good. Thank you so much, Thorgi, for teaching us all about BlazBlue. There's been so many interesting angles to this that I did not expect to get from the series. For sure. Now all that's left, I guess, is to check out the music and play the game. Actually see what's what. I'm super pumped to finally get into it. I know that you probably won't be joining me for Central Fiction, but certainly BB Tech is there. There would be literally nobody else who would interrupt our play sessions. We can still play it. And you can win a bunch of games for the desyncing. Yes! It's perfect! As for me personally, I'll probably check out more Thorgi's retrospectives. I'm kind of eyeing that King of Fighters retrospective up there. Been a series that I've been interested in too. But when it comes to the BlazBlue Thorgi retrospectives, that's gonna do it for us today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll catch you in the next one. Later, dudes.
Bye-bye.